Welcome to another edition of the Mayple Academy. And today, wow, everybody's excited over there in the comments. Slow down. All right. We got two incredible entrepreneurs, growth marketers, AI experts, Mariah and Inge. Hey, Mariah and Inge.
Hello. Great to be here.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
Yeah, our pleasure. And with both of you guys, it's been a while and we wanted to do this for a while now. Glad we got this booked, and I'm glad it's before the holidays so people can go in the holidays and get all the ideas and stew on them. How about everybody just say where you're from, where you're at, where you're most excited about in the event? We'll let people trickle in.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Ben. I am currently I'm in Vancouver, up in Canada on the West Coast, and this is where I've been for over a decade. I'm actually from South Africa. That's where I was born and raised, and but yeah, I immigrated to Canada, and I love being here. I'm excited for today. I'm excited to talk about how AI has really shaped my marketing strategies and what I'm doing in that space, and share what I've learned over the last year. And yeah, excited for that. Thank you.
Amazing.
Looking forward.
What has more rain, Vancouver or the UK?
I'm in Vancouver, in Canada. Sorry, did I catch that?
Your co-founders?
Oh,
your co-founders are in the UK.
That's right. They're in the UK, not for long though. I convinced them to come out to Vancouver for a few months so we can properly get this thing off the ground in a big way. So, but yeah, they're in the UK, in London and New York, and yeah, it's a miracle that we even got this together. So we're on the opposite side of the world.
Right. Amazing.
Elise is saying we're frozen. Is anyone else having trouble seeing us? Probably not the smartest question. If you can see us, let us know in the comments.
A little laggy. All right. We're okay with a little laggy. Okay, cool. Good. Amazing. Mariah, where are you hailing from?
I am in Philadelphia right now. It's a recent move from New York City back to where I'm from. And I will be talking about how to build marketing strategy for uncertain times. And I'm really looking forward both to sharing that with you and hearing what Inge has to say.
For sure. Me too. All right, cool. Well, let's start. We're going to start with Inge for half an hour. And anybody has any questions throughout, just leave them on the chat and we will answer them live. And if anybody wants any feedback on their strategy, just post your URL or post a link to your campaign and we'll review it. And yes, it will be recorded and it will be put on our YouTube channel for everyone to enjoy, but only the people joining us live can ask their questions. All right, cool. So, Inge, let's start. Why don't you, I know you've done a lot of different things. Why don't you and I'm curious to know, why would you leave Tesla? Makes no sense.
Maybe just sense in a second.
Just start in the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I've always been in sales and operations sort of roles. I went to school for a bunch of different things, but amongst them marketing. And sort of throughout my career as an employee, was able to participate in lots of marketing initiatives, and especially from the perspective of retail and customers and users. And so really that was my career, mostly leadership, sales, operations, some marketing, some manufacturing stuff in there, and I left that to go. I got an offer to go work at Tesla, and I thought, when you get offered a seat on a rocket ship, you're not going to really argue about which seat that is. And you just, you say yes and you go. And it was absolutely a transformative time in my career. It was the best, but also the hardest of 6 years of my life. Working for Elon is not a joke. So it was.
What did you do for them?
I'm sorry?
What did you do for them?
Also sales and operations, leadership, Western Canada, sales delivery operations. I did different roles over the time, but I started in sales and then took over delivery operations. So,
wow.
So yeah, which is, I think it's really the hardest part of the whole customer journey over there. So yeah, that was extremely, I learned so much during that time, how to work fast, how to iterate really fast, how to do really hard things, how to do impossible things over and over and over. And so it was incredibly transformative, and also unsustainable. So it's, just sort of, burnt out, and had always, I'd always been an entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 20 years old. And, I sort of decided I was going to be this serial entrepreneur, and of course got sucked into corporate life, and then got stuck in this cycle of, having a salary and, needing to pay bills, and there's a mortgage and this and that. And then about 8 years ago, I really started learning more about investing and business, and doing it properly, sort of in my own way. And so then I now manage my own investment portfolio, and I have a real estate corporation. And so I've sort of built up, these assets over time, because I always knew that if I was going to do more of my own thing, I didn't want to be reliant on other people's money, or VC or funding. I'd love to be self-funded. I'd love to be able to, or at least start that way. I love the process of bootstrapping. I think that there's a lot of excitement, and it's a little bit harder, but there's different kinds of hard, right? So you're either take on money, and then you just have a boss again, and you're working on their timelines and their needs, and producing an ROI for them, or you can bootstrap and self-fund, and there's challenges that come with that too. But that was the route that I chose, and really part of my purpose is democratizing wealth. And I think one of the best ways to do that is through business. It's where you can get some of the best returns. You can really, your effort, you can, have so much more leverage, and there's so much more money available, and there's so much more like skills available out there. Anything that you're not good at, you can go hire for. So yeah, that was, that was my Tesla life. Happy to talk more about it. And then I basically retired, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I met my goal. I wanted to retire before I was 40. I retired at 38. And then I realized, this kind of sucks. I want to sort of do some of my own things here. And then almost immediately, took myself out of retirement and started tinkering, and figured out, what it is I wanted to do. And AI was, working at Tesla, I had, some sort of, idea. There's a lot of artificial intelligence happening there, and especially with like full self-driving. And so, I had an idea, and I knew this was kind of the future. And so I was really trying to solve, again, like everything I do comes out of solving a problem, mostly for myself first. And then I, if there's other people that have the same problem, let's make it available to everyone else. And so that's where I had sort of started Invested Mom, over the year. And that's, just my personal sort of brand blog, where I talk about personal finance and, everything after and how to make money. And then eventually.
And that was your first project?
Yeah, that was my first project, after employment, jail. I don't know. And now, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with employment. That's, also why I co-host a podcast called This Time to Me. It's all about employee advocacy and navigating the workplace. And, so I'll have that whole side of me, all this, tons of sort of, leadership experience and working with people. And really that's at the core of everything. But yeah, I started with Invested Mom and sort of, I knew that I wanted to do long form content. I do everything from an investor's mindset, so I think about everything in terms of, what value am I adding here? I really, really, really look at content as an asset. So, if I'm producing something, I want to do it one time and I want to be able to use that over and over. And this piece of content, whatever it is, needs to compound. It needs to grow in value. It needs to appreciate. And it needs to pay me a dividend. And so I really think about everything I do in business and in life through that lens of investing and compounding, and doing the least and getting the most. Because I also don't want to work too hard. But that's really where I got into, all this sort of like content marketing and got to really start building out some of my own things and not just for the companies that I was working for. And then Invested Mom turned into Top Apps, which is my AI directory. And it really came out of this, I was already at that time had multiple projects and multiple businesses, in my portfolio. And I really I didn't want to hire a massive team, and I wanted to figure out, okay, what is available? How do I find out, like, what are the AI tools available to me? Where do I find them? What are the prices? Can I compare? Am I going to get the best one? Is there something I don't know? And so that really came out of a need for needing to manage multiple projects and needing to automate and leverage AI to make things faster and smoother, integrating a lot of cross-functional pieces. And so Top Apps came out of that need for me, and I built it. Sort of, it's still in the MVP stage. We're busy with like redesign and upgrading and making it prettier, making it more functional. And so that's coming in a couple months. But yeah, it just occurred to me as I was talking to someone, a connection, and they're like, well, you should make this available. And I was kind of like, you know what, if I have this problem, I bet you other people have this problem too. And posted one video on TikTok, it like blew up, and the rest is history. And so overnight got within 16 hours, got like 14,000 visits to the website. And then we just like took off from there. And Top Apps has been live for 9 months now. And, over 30 million impressions, almost 1 million clicks, and, getting over 150,000 website visits per month. And that's in 9 months. And that is an entire content strategy. It's really, a little bit of TikTok, a lot of content and blog writing. And that's where PenFriend came from, is because then I came into my next obstacle and challenge, next problem to solve is, how do I produce content at scale? How do I market this? But not in a way that it's not going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's not so cumbersome and complicated. The whole operations behind producing content, as like every marketer knows, is a giant mess. So so that's where PenFriend came from. Like, how do I produce this like wonderful, good, high quality content, but it be efficient, it be cost effective, it be SEO optimized, and creating with every article, with every page, creating an asset that will compound over time. So yeah, that's where we are today.
That's incredible. And we're definitely going to talk about PenFriend. But I wanted to ask, like in the beginning, going from investing to marketing full time, why did you jump into content, and what was your first quick win? Like, what was your strategy that worked? What are some of the things that didn't work? And how many marketing channels did you really test out in the beginning? Sorry, too many questions. Yeah,
many questions. Let me start with, and this came from my, experience in like my 20 years as a manager and a people leader. And I'm a huge I would say my leadership style is strengths-based leadership. And so I know a lot about how you can get outsized performance by really leveraging your strengths. So whether that is like in a job or as a person, and I just applied that same that same philosophy to marketing and to sales and to content. And so I go where my strengths are. And so I'm not going to mess around with things that I don't understand or that I don't have experience or knowledge with. And so there's definitely a time and place for that. And it just also depends on where you're at in your business. You know, are you a solopreneur, a one person, you know, maybe two or three, maybe you have a VA, or, you know, or are you a big, you know, medium or like massive corporation? Then of course you have way more resources and you have way more staff and you can try all kinds of things, and you should. But for the stage where I was at, you know, I had a few people on my team. It really came down to strengths based. So where did I already have an audience, and which platforms do I understand the best? And then lastly, probably most importantly, is like, where is my target audience hanging out, and where do they go to get their questions answered? Where do they go for information? And so those two things can be completely different. So they might hang out, you know, over on Facebook, but they might go to Reddit to get their questions answered about their business, or like when they're deciding to spend money, where do they go? Do they go to TikTok, or, you know, do they go to Google search? And so it's a little bit of really understanding who your target audience is and where they hang out and where they go find answers. And then I just leveraged the platforms that I already had. You know, I have built up a personal audience on LinkedIn. And I also had a bit of experience on TikTok and have an audience there too, as Invested Mom. And that really came from Gary Vee. I met him a couple times. He was like, you have to get on TikTok. You have to get on TikTok. I was like, okay, Gary, I don't want to make any I don't want to be on video. I don't like that. But I did it. And, you know, I figured out sort of, you know, how TikTok works and virality, and, you know, had some experience with that, and you built up a bit of an audience. And so those are the two things that I understood very well. And so that's where I went. And it was the right decision, because on TikTok, you know, for Top Apps, that blew up right away. We had multiple viral videos, and it really sent a lot of people over to the website. And then LinkedIn is where, you know, my personal audience is. And I think it's such a shame in this day and age, like if you're an executive or a business owner and you don't have a personal brand, I think you're really missing out. Like you're missing out on a lot of opportunity there. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but yeah, like focus on where your strengths are. And then, you know, just like hire the rest, but you can't neglect who you're serving. So go figure out where your target audience is. If those two things match, magic, right? Like that's like with PenFriend, even with Top Apps, it was magic, you know, like, all of our audience is like hanging out, is B2B, is like LinkedIn is the place to be, right? So that was magic. And then TikTok is, you know, so much more. People are using TikTok for search, and they're using TikTok for shopping. And so, you know, anyone can go viral, anyone can get views. And so it just made sense. And so doubling down on your strengths, and then when you've maxed that out and you understand how to speak to your audience and how to get results, then move on to the next. Or if you can hire a team, you know, hire the people that know, you know, hire specialists, maybe hire a generalist first, but then, you know, then you can get into more of the other things, but go with what you know.
Amazing. That's great advice. Because I think a lot of people try to do everything and give up. They're like, wow, this is overwhelming. I don't know how to do all these things. And
yeah, the thing is, you can do way more things. If you start with long form content, repurposing becomes so much easier. So, you know, that's why like I'm such a like advocate for like the only two pieces of content I want to create is a blog and a YouTube video. Maybe a podcast, you know, but that from there you will have everything you need for everything else in the universe. So
do you have a system for purposing?
Yes, I do have a system. It's not perfect. I'm currently actually, you know, PenFriend's going to help solve some of those problems in the future. You know, I can't say too much about it, but for our users, we will have that built in the future. It'll definitely be an update. Some of it's automated, some of it's manual. But yeah, we do have repurposing It's different for the different businesses, but generally the same. And we use Coda for a lot of this stuff, like workflow and I do have an in-house writing team and like editing team as well, and like repurposing. So yeah, it goes to automatically, if like the blog's posted, it gets repurposed into. And so for depending on like which business, it goes into different things. And we've actually like I've revamped a lot of that. So I've taken a break from repurposing to get this like system working well. And so we're going to be going hard on that in the new year for sure. I think that's one of my 2024 sort of like trends, but also things that I think it is really around personalization. And so how do you take a piece of content and really personalize it for different platforms and different audiences? And so I really thought hard about that in this new like repurposing structure. So yeah.
That's amazing. We could do a whole talk just on repurposing.
Oh yeah. And like my friend Gary Vee's like the biggest, repurposing thing. So it was like super advocate for repurposing. And so, I can't say that I'm like at that same level, but it's definitely, it's important. It's important, and especially to get different types of content out in front of different people.
Amazing. So let's talk about PenFriend. Do you want to maybe share your screen and just walk us through what it does?
Oh my goodness, yes. Let me get my situation situated.
If anybody wants to throw us a keyword or a topic to create content around, that would be awesome. Do you ever get burnt out by managing so many things at once?
Not anymore. I think when I was an employee, it was a lot. I did get burnt out at the end there. But now, because I enjoy what I do so much and it's so much fun and I have such a great time, it like everything I do, I get to choose what I put my time and energy into. So no, it's very exciting. And I love being able to, also bring people together. So the other thing that I'm super passionate about is creating opportunities for ownership. Like I said, I think like investing is sort of the key to life, and money is just a tool. And so, one of the best ways to build your wealth is to own business. And so creating opportunities where people can come together and do that is sort of, I love that part of it too. But no, I don't get burnt out anymore. So
amazing.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Now, Ben, like I told you before we went live here, I am the non-technical one. So this may
just
not
click
go
on present.
well.
It's all good. Just click on present and share your screen.
Share screen. PenFriend. Yes. Share. Okay, there we go.
Boom.
Are we seeing the right thing here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
You can see the page.
Yeah.
You got some ideas here.
Yeah. Okay. Please. So I can't see anything else, but you just tell me if there's some keywords we want to put in here.
This one.
So yeah, basically
Barbecue.
you go to penfriend.ai and you go sign up. You can sign up for a free trial you get a one article credit for free. And so you can try it out, see if it's going to work for you. And then we have 3 different subscription options starting at $99 a month. And then you're going to log in, sign up. This is the first screen that's going to pop up. So it's very simple. What I love about this, again, I'm the non-technical one, so I need things to be super simple and easy, but I also have high standards, so I need the best results. So that's what I love about this. It's super easy. You get to the screen, and then you're going to just type in the thing that you want to write about, or the keyword that you've identified is something that you need to write about. So hit me, Ben. What's there?
We got barbecue products. We got getting volunteers for nonprofit organizations.
Okay, let's go with how to get volunteers for nonprofit. And then all you do is you click generate. And you'll see that it's going to start generating some titles here. And what...
So Sorry, go ahead. How is this different than ChatGPT? Like what's the difference?
Yeah, great question. The difference is that ChatGPT is going to give you very generalized results, right? And so ChatGPT, the effectiveness and the how good of the output you get is really dependent on how good your prompt is and how well you feed ChatGPT with the information that you're looking for. So you either have to really, really train the chat, and then you have to be very, very specific. You really have to get a result that you can actually use and put out in front of, throw on your website or put out in front of your audience. It requires a ton of prompt engineering, many, many hundreds of hours of learning how to do that well. Otherwise, you're just going to get the same result that anybody else is going to get when they put in that question into ChatGPT. And so what we've done is we've taken that workload off of you, and we have put my co-founder Tim, his brain into PenFriend, and so his content strategy, SEO, optimization brain, and we have done that hard work for you. So all of the heavy lifting is done. So that, and then we also what PenFriend was doing at this time was going to the SERPs, looking at what is on the first page, what are the keywords, what is already out there, so that it can support ranking, and it can support, find out what is authoritative with this sort of topic, and then it's gonna build the titles for you, and then based on the title, you can choose. It's going to give you multiple options here, and then we rate it, based on our own proprietary rating criteria. It's going to score for clickability, for relatability, and then an overall score. And so you can pick the top one, or if there's something you like better that's more in line with what you were looking for. All of these are good. But let's say, we wanted to how to get volunteers for nonprofits, get volunteers, the secret strategy you don't know yet, detailed strategies and tips, effective strategies. Let's go with this top one here. So all you do, this is like a 3-click situation. So second click, you're going to use 1 credit here, and then it's going to build an outline for you. And so now what PenFriend is doing is it is generating all of your intros, your H2s, your H3s. Literally, this is what people pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for. This is what content teams spend a ton of time on. This is because the writing actually becomes quicker and easier if you have a very detailed brief and a very detailed outline that you're putting in front of a senior writer. Is going to be able to do that very well and a lot quicker. But what this does is it eliminates hours of work of figuring out what should be in this article, what should be what should be in there. And so that is what PenFriend is doing in the background, is prompting our LLMs and is searching the website, searching the internet, and figuring out what is the search intent here. What is required for some ranking principles. Obviously, we don't guarantee ranking, but it's going to give you the best shot possible for Penfin to create the best possible article for you. So this usually takes a couple minutes. It's going to generate, a really, really comprehensive, and then it's also going to give you related keywords. So if you are doing content creation, or at least, blogs and articles with the like hub and spoke model or framework, it's going to give you related keywords, so you can create spoke content, for this as well, that you can link between, which I find is also like one of the best things. So it makes it really easy, really, really easy.
Does it change? Does the article change based on the title that I select?
Yes, it does. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we've got a beautiful outline. We've got our title there. It's going to tell you, introduction. It's going to give you all of your H2s, the H3s that go underneath that. So we've got, understanding volunteer motivation. And so, how do you even motivate people to volunteer for your nonprofit? And then what are some strategies and how to implement those, building strong relationships with volunteers, using tech, and then some case studies. And so if there is enough information available on the internet to produce case studies, Penfin will do that. If there isn't, it's gonna give you really, really nice examples of what you can go look for, and then a conclusion. So let's generate that article. And so that was my third click, and that's it. So it's 3 clicks. After this, I'm going to get, an article that's probably about 90% done. And so all that's going to be required after this is to get your editor to edit, make sure that you're adding in your expertise and your experience, because that is what people want to read, right? Like they want that authority. They want to know that, somebody with the expertise wrote this. So that is definitely a ranking factor. And that's something that an AI is never going to be able to do for you. They're never going to be you, and they're never going to be able to speak 100%, with everything that's in your brain and all of the experience that you've had in your life. So that is required. So yeah, we get you about 95% of the way there. And then Penfin's
already done.
Yeah, already done. And so it's still generating, but we've got the first pieces here. So you've got a nice sort of introduction here. What story are we hearing? You're spinning the plastic globe in your hands, your fingers tracing the countries, intricate borders. Suddenly you stop right there at your fingertips, break down each country as a struggling nonprofit. So yeah, it's going to give you a really nice story. It's quite engaging. And then all of the pieces that you need. So understanding volunteer psychology that goes into this. One of my favorite things is these manual checks. So Penfin's going to tell you what you should consider adding in here. So of course we don't add the images or any of that supplementary stuff. That's really going to have to come out of your editing process, because again, you're going to know the best thing to put there. But Penfin will tell you, hey, consider creating an infographic here to visualize the top motivators behind volunteering. And so that's going to make your content better, and that's going to make it more useful for your reader. And then it continues, and we've got the manual check here, and Penfin is going to continue to write until it's done. And then when it's done, all you do is you're going to hit the copy button. But I guess we can see here, Penny is still going.
Now, have you used it on an entire site?
Yeah, so that is some of the work we're doing right now. But I have used PenFriend now on almost every site that I have, and we've started producing content at scale for Top Apps. So Top Apps is going to be a huge case study for us. Hire and Fire Kids, which is the fintech startup that I'm the CEO of. We have a huge content strategy that we're deploying in January. We're going to be creating hundreds of blogs for that business. And so we have the entire, content operations set up for that. We've hired a team of editors that is going to, edit. And then of course, myself and the founder and like anybody with the skills and the expertise and the experience, is going to be contributing to all of those. But yeah, we have a bunch of businesses that we're starting to deploy this on. And then, my co-founder, John, actually is, creating an entire gold blog, just on PenFriend as this case study. So,
Nice.
yeah, we're very early days here. I mean, we just launched on December 1st, and we sort of launched maybe a little bit before we were even ready, but that's the strategy, right? You gotta, if you're not embarrassed by it, like you launch too late. So we got a lot of early testers, and we got amazing feedback. So we thought, let's put it out there. We need people to use it. We need to get feedback. We want to be very customer driven and user driven. So we're implementing and upgrading and, making PenFriend better, every week we're implementing feedback. So it's going to look different, a year from now, but the one thing that we'll maintain is the simplicity. And obviously the quality will only get better. The content will only get better. And yeah, so yeah, to answer your question, some of that is already in the works. And then we're in the first quarter of next year, we're doing taking on some major projects to really push the limits on what PenFriend can do, because we believe it is the best, most human-like writer out there.
Amazing.
So yeah, cool. Here we have a full article, and Penny can write. Some blogs are, and again, it depends on really what the search intent is and what needs to exist in this article for it to be useful. But we've had some blogs come out, 3,000. Most of them are, in the sort of 2,000 to 3,000 words, but we've had some come out 4,000, 5,000 words. So it's capable of writing. You're going to be hard pressed to get a 4,000 word anything out of ChatGPT. If someone gets that right, tell me how many hours of prompt engineering went into that, because you're just not gonna be able to do that. So what we do on the back end is, without sharing too much, but there's about 26 different like expertly written, like IP'd prompts working in the background here, and that keeps increasing and it keeps becoming more and more robust. So and it's from the perspective of, content strategy, SEO optimization, being useful, producing the highest quality. So it's just so hard to recreate in ChatGPT or really anywhere else. So yeah, then you're going to just go hit copy. It's copied, and then you can go paste it, in your Google Doc or any your Coda, or anywhere you Airtable, any content ops sort of workflow thing that you use for your team.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Inge, for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no worries. Do we want to do one more? Are we ready to move on?
Let's let Mariah present, and then we're going to take questions afterwards. And whoever wants to stick around, we can continue playing around with PenFriend.
Okay. Do I?
Hello, everyone. This is so cool. Right. I'm going to try this out all afternoon. We're going to be doing nothing but testing PenFriend.
That's great. So, Mariah, you have a presentation, right? You want to share your screen?
I do have a presentation for everyone.
The floor is yours.
Awesome. Let me just, is this a full screen share?
Yep.
Got it. Okay. There we go. I want to start us with the scariest moment of my professional life. It was my first day of a new job, which is often a scary moment, but this was particularly terrifying. I was staring at our KPIs in a group marketing meeting. Our acquisition costs were many times higher than our customer lifetime value. We were losing money every time we signed up a customer, and it was a lot of money. As an added bonus, I was in charge of the team that would turn things around. What on earth do you do in that situation? I would learn several things the hard way in the next few months, and I'm hoping that today I can save you a little bit of time. But we'll come back to my first few months. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing strategy for a changing world, why you still need a marketing strategy, what the foundations of that strategy should be, making room for change, and then we'll take a look at an AI marketing strategy case study that brings together a lot of the elements that are best practices in AI. Why listen to me? I'm Mariah. I am the founder of Possible, which is a newsletter that helps marketers learn how top marketers are using AI at big companies and startups and how you can borrow their best tactics. I'm a growth marketing leader, and most important for our call, I am a Mayple vetted marketing expert, part of the Mayple community. It stresses me out a little bit just seeing this slide. So much is changing right now. AI is developing faster than experts thought. In fact, many AI experts will give you predictions for January 2024 and no further because we are so unsure of where AI is going, even within the next year. Simultaneously, as marketers, we're dealing with the cookie apocalypse and the rise of privacy first, which will make it harder for us to target people across the internet. And we're also seeing that the youngest generations do not follow the same stereotypes and larger generational trends, which requires us to build smaller and smaller segments to talk to our populations. With all that said, one of the first questions I get when I'm talking to brands right now is why bother creating a marketing strategy at all? With so many things changing, the rise of AI, changes in privacy, is it worth creating a marketing strategy in the first place? I still advocate that it is. A good marketing strategy gives your team common purpose, whether you have one marketer, 20 marketers, 100 marketers, or a customer success person or salesperson who's acting as a marketer, or you're the marketer and the founder. No matter how large your team is, having that strategy gives you a common direction to head into and gives you central goals. It also creates external cohesion, building your brand and making sure that all your assets are consistent across channels. And most importantly, it helps you measure performance for your team. It helps them understand how you're judging their performance, and it helps you understand how they are performing and gives you that common agreement on what is necessary in the role. 4 times of change. You should create a solid foundation of your marketing strategy that still leaves you room to change. That strategy should include, first and foremost, goals and KPIs. If you decide not to follow marketing strategy, if you do not do any other part of the strategic prep, you really, really need goals and KPIs. And particularly, I recommend having a North Star KPI. That is the most important KPI that your entire team is trying to achieve. For most companies, this will be customers or amount of revenue. And it is something that makes sure that as your team is optimizing for multiple different KPIs, they aren't prioritizing engagement or another KPI where if you increase it, it might decrease the number of customers you're generating because you're prioritizing a different stage of the funnel. It says that getting more customers is the most important thing to you. Competitor analysis is also key. So you understand how your competitors are advertising and you can find opportunities that they're not taking advantage of. This is particularly important if you're up against companies that have raised 50 or 100 million as an early stage startup, or if you're up against massive consumer brands as an e-commerce brand, or if you're up against HubSpot as a brand new B2B company. You want to know what they're doing so you can find the opportunity to do things differently and save a little bit of money and reach the same audience. Budget is also key. Even if your budget will change, your team should know how it would change and why it would change so they can plan your marketing efforts and make sure that you're reaching your targets within your budget. Target audience, even if you sell to everyone, having a target audience is key. What I have found over and over again for multiple different brands is that there is always a segment of your audience or a few segments of your audience that are particularly enthusiastic about the product. They'll buy it at a lower cost per acquisition. They will tell their friends about it more enthusiastically. And if you can focus in on who those people are and make sure that all your efforts across your company are delighting them, it can lead to faster growth. Finally, channels. Making sure that you know which marketing channels are performing best for your company and that you're doubling down on those channels in your strategy is key. Other channels that are new might offer you greater opportunities, but if you move most of your resources to an untested channel, you could see acquisitions drop if you're neglecting growth in your key channels. So outlining what those are for the team is crucial. Once you have your strategy foundations, it's time to build in some room for change. When I'm talking to brands about change, even at a small size, I want to see brands leading change instead of following change. Your marketing strategy should give you the flexibility to find new opportunities and try new things before you have to change. As a good example of that, a number of brands are starting to build email newsletters so that they'll be able to effectively retarget their prospects and customers without having to rely on third-party cookies and on sufficient internet tracking. So you can start building for change before you're forced to make that change, and that will give you an advantage. What I do to be able to lead change for companies when I'm wearing 100 different hats is learning about the latest marketing trends and approaches. The Mayple newsletter is great for this. There are multiple different influencers in different areas of marketing that are on the cutting edge of this work. Feel free to shoot me an email after this webinar and I can give you recommendations based on your area. And you can often find them through LinkedIn and other platforms where marketers hang out. Another key piece of advice for leading change is putting together an experimental budget. An experimental budget is usually about 5 to 10% of your overall budget. And you say that you're completely fine with spending all of it without results. In fact, it can be called a blow it budget. The reason you're okay with that is because it encourages your team to be creative and take risks. And they're taking risks with a small percentage of the budget, but they're trying new channels and doing things they wouldn't otherwise do with your main budget. We used this at a previous company that was very reliant on one ad channel. We tested Facebook and Instagram ads, and it reduced our cost per acquisition across the business by 50% just during the test. And so having that freedom to try new things significantly improved our performance. And giving your team that opportunity to take risks is very important. Finally, leading change is about testing new marketing channels and tactics to see if they work for the brand. We'll be talking about how to do that in just a sec. But I want to bring us back to my nightmarish first day that turned out to not be a nightmare and several weeks. What do we do when everything stops working? This can be a source of a lot of imposter syndrome for marketers. So I say for imposter syndrome, you don't have to know what to do. You have to know how to figure out what to do. And this is how you figure it out. You start by forgetting any assumptions that you've made. You go into the data around a channel that's not working, dig deeper, and figure out what is happening and why your campaigns aren't working anymore or your SEO isn't working anymore. You can also talk to customers if you're seeing a deeper problem where customers aren't buying to try to figure out what's happening. All of this research will give you ideas, and then you test your ideas by running new campaigns or trying new things or changing pricing to figure out what makes a difference and gets you started on growth again. During my first week, the team told me that the increase in our cost was happening because of iOS 14.5, and there was nothing we could do about it. I decided to dig deeper into the data, and I found that almost a third of our budget was going to Android phones. Here's the issue. The company was an iPhone app and only an iPhone app and didn't have an Android app, but they were optimizing for top of funnel events, and Android users were more likely to click on ads and get started on the process, but they never converted at the end because there was no app for them to buy. So seeing that one piece of the data gave us back a third of our budget to spend on ads that would convert, and was something we would have completely missed if we stayed with the assumption that iOS 14.5 was responsible. Over the next several weeks, we tested new ad creative, we tested new platforms, we reduced those wasted spends and managed to reduce the company's cost per acquisition by over 90% to a point where our cost per acquisition was significantly below the customer lifetime value. And so even when you're facing down something that looks like a mountain you can never overcome, if you can stick to this process, figure out what's going on, make incremental changes, keep testing, you can get out of situations you'd never think you'd be able to get out of. What does testing actually look like? You start by forming an idea, an educated guess about what's happening. So our ads aren't working because a significant amount of our budget is going to Android users. Then you prioritize your efforts. You want things that are most likely to have the biggest impact with the least costs. Looking at those three factors can help you figure out which marketing efforts you should test first. The next step is running a test. You can do an A/B test or a multivariate test of multiple forms of new creative. You can put aside $500 to $1,000 to test a new advertising channel. And all of that is focused on figuring out if your ideas are right or if you need to try something else to improve performance. And then once the tests are over, you sit down and analyze the data. What did they show? And what new ideas and conclusions can you draw from what you learned from the test? As a marketer, I've seen so many articles on the simple email template that'll generate $10 million for your business, or the simple strategy that will grow you from 0 to 150,000 subscribers in this amount of time. I have found one universal strategy that works across channels and across types of companies and across B2C versus B2B, and that is testing. It's generating ideas quickly, seeing what works and what doesn't, and moving forward with what works. that is the only framework I've had to generate $25 million for brands. And it is so powerful once you get used to it. It can take a little bit of time to implement for your team, but it gets easier and easier and easier, and it's so worth your time. Another thing that's going to be big in this year of uncertainty is AI marketing strategy. But it's tough to build a strategy when even the top experts in the world struggle to predict where AI is going in the next few months and years. So I spent a year learning about how the best companies in the world and the top emerging startups are using AI in their marketing. And I want to share some of the top lessons with you. And this case study of BuzzFeed brings together everything that I've learned about what makes top companies' marketing successful in AI. So we're going to be talking about BuzzFeed. 10 years ago, Summer Burton, a managing editorial director at BuzzFeed, saw something very strange. They had published a quiz, "Which grease pink lady are you?" that didn't really do well when it was released, and the team forgot about it. But over the next several months, that quiz had quietly grown into BuzzFeed's top shared piece of content for the year. Burton dug in further, and she found that BuzzFeed's quizzes had this long tail of traffic where they were generating traffic weeks and months after they were published, and social virality. They would gradually pick up steam on social. BuzzFeed decided to lean further into quizzes. And those 10 years were massive. Over time, BuzzFeed found that content that goes viral on social media, like their quizzes, is 34 times higher traffic than content that doesn't go viral on social media. They got 20 million views on a single quiz. And over the next 10 years, by 2022, BuzzFeed was getting 1.1 billion views on quizzes per year. Also in 2022, the launch of ChatGPT and the rapid rise in adoption of AI. Jonah Peretti, BuzzFeed CEO, said that there are two routes that media and content marketing are going to use in AI. The first is an SEO-focused play where AI can generate more content faster than human writers to boost your SEO. And that's something BuzzFeed's experimenting with. But he was more excited about creating a new model for entertainment with AI, which is to personalize and create campaigns that you'd never be able to do without AI, that really use human and AI creativity to entertain. Imagine taking a quiz where your results are unique to you. It can tell you what to have for dinner, or it can even write a rom-com that stars you. You don't actually have to imagine it because BuzzFeed has already created those quizzes. A BuzzFeed writer writes the quiz, and they also write a prompt that generates the results of the quiz. Readers take it and fill in information for the prompt, and then BuzzFeed's AI creates a unique result for those individuals. And BuzzFeed's initial tests were remarkably successful, even further than the company expected in their top performing content. BuzzFeed quizzes generated 3 times more traffic when they were made with AI than traditional content. And people spent 40% more time on those quizzes than they spent on regular quizzes. So what do we do when we have a successful test? We double down on it. Based on the quizzes, BuzzFeed created their first AI chatbot game. It's called Under the Influencer, and you can talk with BuzzFeed's AI, who will figure out if you will become an influencer based on your answers to the game. It's a little mean, like maybe more than a little mean, so I wouldn't recommend it on a low self-esteem day, but it is such a cool use of the AI technology. And visitors spend 4 times more time on the game than they do on quizzes. So it's among BuzzFeed's most successful content ever. There are a few things that the BuzzFeed example teaches us. And these are lessons that you can apply to your AI marketing strategy as things change rapidly over the course of the next year. The first is find opportunities to incorporate AI into your most valuable efforts. BuzzFeed wasn't testing AI on a small niche area of content. They were testing it on one of their top content verticals. And as a small team, it's particularly important that you test AI on things that make the biggest difference for your business so you can see if it outperforms team members or if AI and humans together can outperform what your team was originally doing. An important lesson that keeps coming up in every spectacular use of AI is to use AI creatively to do things that humans could never do. As an example, one company uses AI to completely personalize their email newsletter. So every one of their 100,000 subscribers gets a different, unique version of their newsletter based on the links that that person's most likely to click. And it's skyrocketed their email engagement. You should also make AI a value proposition, not a secret. A lot of media companies and other companies are publishing AI content without revealing that it's AI content or using AI on the back end. What BuzzFeed shows with their AI quizzes is their AI quizzes were more viral than their human created quizzes because people were excited to try this new technology and to get a unique result that's customized exactly to them. And so I'd try to think about how you can make AI a front and center value proposition, even within your marketing, to capture that virality instead of feeling like AI is a secret or a cost-cutting measure that you need to hide. And finally, BuzzFeed shows that it's important to keep humans involved in the process. The reason these quizzes are such a fun experience is because there was human creativity and ingenuity going into the topics and how the quizzes were built, and then AI doing the parts of the work that the humans couldn't. It was this beautiful collaboration, and AI works best as a beautiful collaboration that expands on human creativity and does things we could never imagine possible. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Really appreciate it. If you want to see more about BuzzFeed's use of AI or other case studies of AI in marketing, go to possible.com. That is possible.com. You can also connect with me on social media if you want those recommendations of influencers, and you can work with me at Mayple.com, which I highly recommend. You can also find a top marketing expert there. Can I answer any questions?
Amazing, Mariah. Thank you so much. That was super interesting. Let's bring back Inge here. Inge, you're on mute. Someone should write an article about being on mute.
This is the story of my life right here. Mariah, that was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so cool to see some of the more creative ways that companies are using AI. Since we're heading toward the holidays and it technically counts as work, I also highly recommend watching Coca-Cola's Masterpiece ad. It is spectacular and it's AI enabled.
Wow. Super cool. So does anyone have any questions? I know we had one question about PenFriend. Here's a question from Pam. Are you using AI to help personalize content? Like, we know that AI can create content, but then you still need the human touch to personalize it, right? So
the the current state of PenFriend is like creating a really sort of specialized, high quality content. The personalization is actually a little bit further down our roadmap. It's something we're hoping to accomplish in 2024. But really, when we thought about creating PenFriend, yes, it's like solving this like content production and quality output piece, but it also we also have to solve the like expertise, experience, personalization piece. Otherwise, really, we're only solving half the problem. So we have a very, very robust plan for how we're going to accomplish that, and that's going to be our 2024. That's sort of that's where we're heading. And I like definitely personalization, huge trend. I think if companies aren't really thinking about how to personalize your content, that you're going to get eaten alive. So yeah, that's going to be a big focus for us next year. And as PenFriend gets better, as we add more of this functionality and features, obviously the business model might change a little bit over time, but we're solving an immediate problem, and then we're building in all this personalization on the back end, again, to make it easy for the user, to make it simple, to cut out that time. So there's we are thinking about that, and that will be that'll be something for next year. So stay tuned.
Amazing. I'm excited. Mariah, this next question is for you. Where do people go to learn about how to implement AI in marketing? Let's say somebody's a marketing manager or they are in charge of a channel. Where do they go to learn about it?
Well, I really like this tool called topapps.ai. But seriously, looking at some of the different tools and functionality can give you a lot of knowledge about what you can do with AI. You can also go to possible.com to see how big companies are using it. And I like looking for case studies to understand how other companies are applying AI and get a better sense of what different tools can do. I also recommend when you're implementing AI that you sit down and think about what forms of marketing are working best for you, and then really focus on learning about the AI tools in that specific space. You can even search for AI tools in that space or search for case studies in that space, because it's really easy to get distracted by all the awesome things that AI can do. But you want to be focused on finding the ways that AI can solve real problems for you in channels that your customers are already deeply engaged in. And so with all of this unknown in the space, I always start with what channel's working for me and how can I make things easier for my team or do things that my team can't do with AI.
Yeah, amazing. Like always double down on what the strengths you have. Like Inge was saying, you have strength, use them. I had a question about that. It seems like in marketing, I'm always faced with things I just have no clue about, and I have to learn. It's as if it's from scratch.
Yep.
And I can't afford a low self-esteem day. I just got to power through. So how do you deal with that?
I got a piece of advice once that was really helpful, to dedicate a certain amount of my week to learning, even when it's incredibly difficult, even when it's just an hour. And so I try to block off a certain amount of time that's about learning about the tools, and reading case studies. And I've found personally, I tend to get really involved in work. And so I've found that newsletters and following influencers on LinkedIn has been really helpful to me in learning quickly in a short amount of time. And I tend to focus on things that will tell me exactly how to implement something and why I should really quickly. But I trust what you already know about how you learn. If you need a course, you can find a course. If you need bite-sized information that appears throughout the day that you can use in 5-minute increments between backbreaking tasks, that's the best way to go forward.
For sure. What do you think, Inge? Like, how do you empower others around you?
So I think that I have like two answers for this. As like part of a team, if you are, if you have employees, if you have, people that are working for you, and them being up to date and learning, and staying sort of on trend and learning new applications, learning about new industries and trends, I would make it mandatory and build that time into their job, into their role, into their function, pay them for it, make it important. So what you don't measure, you have to inspect what you expect. So so that's sort of a simple, I think it's just a really simple, you just got to do it. If I want you to be educated on something, I'm going to have to make sure that is, do that the right way. For myself, or, if you're working with partners, or if it's just like something important to you and you're struggling to find the time, I would like double down on what Mariah said. I build time into my schedule. I have flex time every day where I can like catch up on things or learn things, or I can, go down some rabbit holes. It's not hard for me personally, because I have ADHD. So I get that hyper focus. I, go down multiple rabbit holes. I have way more information than I need to know about the most random things, because that's easy. That's easy. I'm so curious. And before you know it, it's like 4 a.m. and you just learned about like what a basilisk is, and like who even needs to know that. But yeah, again, it's like what's important to you is like where energy goes. All of those things. If it's important to you. And it should be like, you should be staying on top of it if you care about your business and you care about your team. And, not everybody has to dominate, but you got to stay alive. We got to keep the lights on here. And that requires you to stay on top of trends. It requires you to learn. And then finally, like if all else fails, if you just couldn't care less, money fixes all problems. Hire people to go do the research for you. Hire a team who like that is their job, is to stay on top of things. And so things where don't have strengths in, again, strengths based. So I don't really take too much time. I don't really spend any time on my weaknesses. I'd like throw those to the wind. And I just surround myself with people who are smarter than me and who have strengths in the areas that I don't. And so, last resort, just throw some money at it.
All of that's great suggestions. I want to step away from AI for a minute, because I think there's something in that question of how overwhelmed we all are as marketers right now. We're being asked to do more with less. Our traditional one-channel systems for startups and small businesses are not working as well as they used to. And so what Inge said about finding ways to outsource is really important. What are you doing that isn't directly adding value? How can you simplify your work so you're really focused on the things that are pushing the company forward? Could you outsource part of your role, or bring in a fractional team member who won't cost the company that much, but give you the ability to specialize and give you back some of that time to learn? That was twofold for me. I made time to learn, but I also found freelancers or team members who could support me with some of the stuff I was doing. So I had a little more space to really figure out how to move the business forward.
Yeah, the way I solve that problem mostly is by just bringing people in and giving them awarding equity. It's like it's a value exchange, So if you don't have money, but you have things to offer, like you still have value to offer, and they have value to offer. That's how I do a lot of my business now. Is really little money's exchange. It's a value exchange, and we you bring this to the table, I bring this to the table. Together we make magic happen, and then we all benefit on the upside. And so that's an option too. It's a bit scary. Most people don't have a lot of exposure to that, but that's a great way to go about it and think about it. And so bringing people on who are willing to contribute their skills and put in some work, and who see the vision and who see the long-term benefit of this, you might find somebody super, super valuable that can help you build and can take on some of those areas that you just like don't have time to learn or really have no interest in learning.
Yeah. Huge. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Or is it just me asking all the questions?
Your questions are good, Ben.
We got to do a sequel for sure. Incredible. All right. So I think we'll stop there. Thank you both so much. That was really, really fascinating. The video is going to go up on YouTube. We're going to send it out to our list. And maybe we'll do a special discount with PenFriend. I don't know.
I'll have to run that by the boss, but yeah, you never know. You never know.
Wait a second. I thought you don't have a boss anymore.
Well, I sort of like say that tongue in cheek because sometimes I think I'm the boss, and then sometimes I realize I'm not the boss, and really like there is no boss. We are. I gave away 2/3 of this business. Case in point of what I just said. In order to have some incredible people by my side. So, that's just a way of me saying I'm going to have to run that by the team because I think we decided that we are, we're really like positioning ourselves, on value, and we really don't want to do any discounts, but we might make a little exception. I don't know. So, Ben, I'll keep you posted.
All right. Sounds good.
I don't know about you, Inge, but the process of entrepreneurship feels like getting a lot of extra bosses.
Yeah. It's a constant like struggle for autonomy and just like, how do I stay out of this? How do I stay out of this taking orders thing? I don't want to be taking orders.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more like a seat at the table with multiple bosses where you get to have ideas and give orders as well as taking them.
Exactly. I thrive in a really collaborative environment. I realized very quickly, I don't love this like solopreneur, but, I don't love operating on my own. And, also left to my own devices again, rabbit brain. So I really work well in an environment where I'm surrounded by, people that like complement my, my skill set, who are fun. Number one goal is we have to have fun. So teamwork, collaboration, that's really like where I thrive. And I realized quickly, I don't want to be doing this solo thing. It's a lot to do on your own. And it's so much more fun. It's so much more fun to work in teams and you learn so much. I learned so much from the people that I work with. And so that it keeps it fun, because if it's not fun, why the hell are we doing it in the first place? So that's like at the top of the core values list.
Exactly.
For sure. Just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. So thank you guys so much. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, Ben.
Until next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.